Hi, my name is Emily Morris, a DLS with CFBISD, and I just wanted to share with you all a few quick tools to get you started in Google Sheets. As you begin analyzing student data and taking some of that into consideration in PLCs and other meetings that you have, I wanted to share a couple quick tools that could be super useful when interacting and manipulating data in Google Sheets. We're going to be talking about filtering, about conditional formatting, freezing, and data validation. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I like to do, especially when interacting with a sheet that has lots of information that I may need to scroll to look at, I like to freeze my column headers and my row headers. So for instance, I would really like if I scrolled to keep the student name and the section frozen where it is, so I can always tell, oh, this student missed this question or what have you. I'd also really like to know the column headers as I scroll down instead of them disappearing. So what I'm going to do, it's really easy. I'm going to go into View up at the top, and I'm going to select how many rows I want to freeze. I really just need one row frozen. And you'll notice when I select that, a thicker gray line appears underneath the row that I have frozen. And since I want some columns frozen too, I'm going to go back into View, Freeze, and I'm going to select, I want 2 columns frozen. And then I've got all my data in an easy to read format for me. The next thing that's super helpful is to be able to filter this data. Maybe I want to look at all of the students that got question 1 wrong. Or maybe I only want to look at students in 5th period. I like to highlight, well, take that back. As you'll find in Google Sheets, there's at least 2 or 3 different ways to do everything. I'm going to go into Data up here at the top. And you'll notice you have 2 different options when doing filtering. You can just go straight into creating a filter, or you can create a filter view. A filter view is very helpful when you might have multiple people manipulating and looking at this data at the same time. So maybe the 7th grade team is looking at map data all together, and they want to manipulate some things, but you're going to want to manipulate that sheet all at the same time. What I would do is I would create a filter view. When you create a filter view, only you can see what you are filtering at this moment. Only you can see the manipulations that you do. If anybody else is also looking at this sheet at the same time, they're not going to see the filters that you apply. Which is really helpful when you have multiple people looking at the same sheet at the same time, wanting to manipulate different types of data. So then you'll notice on each column, you've got this kind of filter button. Then you can sort from A to Z. That also sorts not just alphabetically, but numerically. You can filter by a condition. You can filter by values. You can select which values you want. So maybe I want to sort A to Z, and then I want period 5. Then I can tell that out of all of my period 5, I've got 3 students that missed question 1. Okay. You can name your filter. Maybe it's something you want to come back to, this filter that you've made. Maybe you want to come back to all the students that missed this, or that maybe all the students that scored a certain score on the quiz. So I can name this Press filter, that's just what I'm going to do. And then it's really easy to exit your filter. You just click the X button. And all your data goes back to the way it was. The next thing that can be really helpful is conditional formatting. There are a couple of different ways you can do that. I will select a cell. Maybe I want to select a whole column of cells. Oops. And then you can either right click or you can go into format and you can select conditional formatting. And now you can adjust the range. Maybe you want it to be C2 to L62. That means I've selected all of that. And then I want to format my cells. You've got all kinds of different rules. If there's an entry there, if the text is exactly something, if the number is greater than or less than. So I may say is equal to 0. And maybe I'll do that a red color because 0 means the students got it wrong. And I'm going to add it. And now you can see all the questions students got wrong. I could also do a different kind of conditional formatting here. More cell actions, conditional formatting. And maybe I want it to be is less than 70. I want all my students who didn't pass to be a color. Maybe I want it to be a different color, like an orange. Whoops. I changed the font. There we go. And then you can see all the students who didn't pass the quiz. For a second, I'm going to go back to our filter that we can do. And I'm going to go back to data, filter views, and I'm going to go back to the filter view that I had previously. But now what I want to do is do A to Z by students who mastered or did not master that quiz. And now I can see which students that is, how they scored. I can maybe start to look at some trends in the questions that they missed. Right? So that's always a very helpful tool. The next thing that I want to show, the last thing I want to show, is called data validation. And really, data validation is just a fancy name for adding like a drop-down list. So maybe what I want to do is I'm going to insert a column. And I'm going to call it status, because really what I want to do is I want to keep track of all my students and what next steps I want them to do. So I'm going to right click, more cell actions, data validation. That's one way to get to it. You can also get to it from data and then data validation. And I'm going to select list of items. And now I can just enter all the things that I want to show up in that data validation in that drop-down menu here, separated by a comma. So for instance, I may want them to attend tutorials. I may want them to do a retake, or they may be ready to move on. And now I can go through and maybe I do my filter view. And I look at all of my students. That did it master, and they're all going to get tutorials. And then my other students may move on. Another quick shortcut is you can click and drag on this corner to copy the same thing down the column. So those are just a few tips and tricks, few beginner skills in Google Sheets that hopefully are useful to you as you begin interacting and manipulating data from students in your PLCs and in your planning time. Please reach out to your DLS if you have any other questions.